Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Finance with Lanny. And today we're going to dive into how to live off of PSA cards. No, I'm kidding. But yes, PSA 9 Charizard. No, just all jokes aside, today is actually about living off of dividend income. If you're not familiar with me over at Freedom Finance on Twitter or X, over at the Dividend Diplomats with my boy Bert, everybody should know now for watching this that my main goal, which has been for a very long time, and we'll get into it, has been to actually get to financial freedom and live off of dividend income as the main source of passive income once I get there. So I've been doing this journey. I've been on this journey for a very long time. But today I wanted to break down how living off of dividend income can be possible, how to break it down, how to really simplify it, which, a lot of you finance and calculator type of nerds out there, don't worry, I can say that because I'm one of them. But I wanted to really break it down for you just so I can show you proof in the pudding, where I'm at in the journey, and how you can tweak it along the way, depending on what your goal is. So grab your favorite drink, guys, your coffee, your beer, whatever that might be. And let's get into how to live off of dividend income. Let's get it. The first thing you got to do is get yourself a PSA 10 Michael Jordan card from 97-98. That'll really set you off on a great start. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm loving showing off these PSA cards. Again, a little hobby of mine, but we'll get into some of those videos later. But living off of dividend income, what is this all about? How hard is it? How long have I been going on this journey, guys? I found out about dividend investing and dividend income, way back when I was probably 19, 20 years old, which is now over 15 years ago. I don't want to talk about it. I'm getting old. You probably can see some of the grays coming through this camera over here. But and I knew then that, passive income was possible and dividend investing, dividend income seemed to be ideal. What is a dividend? Again, dividend is typically profits paid out back to shareholders at the management or the board of directors' discretion. Typically, instead of putting it all back into retained earnings for the business, they could pay out a portion of the profits back to you, the shareholder. And then, another question is if you're a beginner investor, if you're just starting out for investing, guys, what is the dividend yield? Again, dividend yield is the dividend that they pay out over 12 months divided by the share price. If they pay $3, share price is $100, that's a 3% dividend yield. So just wanted to get a few basics out there so you understand some of the concepts in dividend investing. Again, if you're already an advanced investor or you've been a dividend investor, obviously you can just tip your hat, nod your head like, yep, got it, Lanny, let's keep moving. So why dividend income? Well, if you haven't caught my other videos, obviously they're taxed at a preferential tax rate. Currently they're taxed, if they're qualified dividends, at the long-term capital gains tax rate, which is a far lower tax rate than your ordinary income rate. So check that video if you haven't already. But that is also one of the main reasons why, I chose to pursue a journey and a goal and a mission to live off of dividend income. So Lanny, what's the goal here? Do you want $1 million in dividend income? Do you want $500,000 in dividend income? No. I live in Northeast Ohio, the Cleveland area. Cost of living is, fairly low, not that high. So just to give you a little frame of reference there. And, we're pretty frugal in our house here. So I don't need that type of, income, nor do I have that type of lifestyle. So the original goal here, guys, and again, it changes. Goals can change. Just remember that your goals can change. And as you're pursuing a goal and a mission to live off of dividend income, things may happen in your life that you may not have anticipated, that you might end up choosing to do because you found new interest in life, or again, life just can throw you some curveballs. But your goals can change. Your goal of living off of dividend income, though it still should be that goal if you have it, the number may change. So what's Lanny's current number here? What is that goal? If you follow me on Twitter or X, again, Mr. Elon Musk will end result there with the name of the brand. But my biggest goal is $48,000 in dividend income. $4,000 per month in dividend income is really like my main goal to achieve. And, it seems like a small number. For some, it may seem like a large number, but it's a hard number to say the least. So everybody that's been a dividend investor, how hard it is. Because if you're, only getting a 3% yield on $100 invested, you're getting $3 in income, how long it takes to build up to $48,000, let alone to your first 1,000, your first 10,000. So $48,000 is kind of like my, I freaking did it number. Again, keep this in mind. I'm in the Cleveland area. $4,000 a month might be nothing at all for you in another area, or maybe even in the same, city, just depending on your house, your child situation, your family situation, et cetera, et cetera. But, for me, and what we found is, I think that's kind of like the current threshold to really, get to a financial freedom standpoint. So $48,000, great. Well, what's the amount you have to truly have invested to get to $48,000? So this will be the simple calculation. If you're here just for this, there's a bunch of other videos as well that'll break it down for you in a minute or less. But you take that dividend income goal and you divide it by the dividend yield that you would expect to have. So $48,000, my current dividend yield is 3.5%. So if you take $48,000, you divide by 3.5%, you get a little bit over $1.3 million invested. So I know what you're doing right now. You probably pulled up your calculator. You probably are typing in $100,000 in dividend income you want to achieve by 3%, 3.5%, 4%, just so you can see the capital or the market value of what your investment needs to be. That's just it. For me, it's over 1.3 million at 3.5%. Now, I could start investing into higher dividend yields, right? Pushing my average yield from 3.5% to 4%. At 4%, I only need about 1.2 million. So I'm chopping off well over $100,000 from what the value needs to be. So think about it as inversely related. The higher the yield, the less amount you need. However, the higher the yield, potentially the higher the risk. So I wouldn't go and, invest, all your money into AT&T stock, Verizon stock, or, the JETB, the JETQ, ETF cover calls. So I'm not here to recommend that. Again, my yield's 3.5%. You can actually see what I'm predominantly invested into with my 3 ETF strategy, plus all the other stocks that I've invested into. Again, I released a video back on my August dividend income, transparent video I put out there, so you can see all the companies I own that pay me. And there aren't many that I own that are yielding over 4% by any means. Some do, some are actually less than 3.5%, but my average yield right now is 3.5%. Well, just to give you a little tidbit, where am I at in the journey? Half. I'm about halfway there. Just crossed in September over 24,000 in forward taxable dividend income stream. Again, that's going forward. So I'm halfway there to the goal, and I've been investing myself for almost 15 years. So you can just imagine, how long I've been doing it, consistently investing in the game. But I will argue that I could have been there a lot sooner. In the first few years when I started investing, I did not invest at the higher percentage that I knew I probably could have at the time. Again, that's kind of how it usually goes, right? You don't know enough at the time, so you kind of just tiptoe your way in there. And then finally, when you start really seeing the traction and it working, then maybe 5 years in, you start really ratcheting it up. And then once you realize that, oh yeah, this is like easily possible, I would say, out of my almost 15 years investing, I would say probably by year 6 or 7 did I really say, okay, I'm going to just go ham, aka hard as a mother, at dividend investing. Now, the biggest, pet peeve of mine is people think you need to have like the 1.3 million right away. That is not the case, guys. Again, you don't need to have the lump sum right now. If you do, congratulations. You can be financially free at 1.3 to 1 million to $2 million. You can be financially free. You could just deploy it all into an ETF or a bunch of stocks that yield between 3 and 6%, and you can have a nice income stream. But for most of us, we don't have that lump sum money. I mean, again, I'm only halfway to my goal, and I've been investing for 15 years almost. So you can tell that I don't have that lump sum money, but I've built my way over time to get there. And here's where I'm going to show you that you don't need that lump sum right away either. So if you're 20, 22, 25, 30 even, 35, you just do the simple math here. If you invest $3,000 per month, and if you did that consistently, $3,000 a month for 15 years, again, just take your age, add 15 years, at an average rate of about 10 to 11% return, you'll get to about $1.3 million. So if you're just starting out investing, have that long-term mindset that you don't need the 1.3 million right now. And if you have 15 years ahead of you, you can get there by just investing $3,000 a month. I say just, but again, it's $3,000. You can find a way to do it. I know I started figuring out that there are ways to do it back in my mid-20s, which I'm very fortunate about. That again, I busted my ASS, try to scrap for every raise that I could, and realized I could save as much as I possibly can, keeping my costs low, and just keep investing the difference. And you're able to ratchet up how much you invest per month. So again, you don't need the 1.3 million now, and in fact, you only need to invest $3,000 a month for 15 years, which I think if you do the math, is about $500,000 really of your hard-earned dollars over a 15-year period needs invested. So if you do that, you can actually get to that total, flip it to a yield that is around 3.5%, and you could achieve at least my goal of $48,000. I get a lot of feedback too when I ask others, what's your dividend income goal, or how much dividend income would you need to retire or be financially free? I get $120,000 a lot, which to me, hey, I'm going to get there. I will get there. It won't be next year, probably won't be in 5 years, but I'll get there at some point. But to give you a frame of mind, if you have maybe like 4.5% yield, so you take 120,000 divided by a 4.5% yield, you need about 2.7 million in market value on that stock portfolio to produce $120,000 in dividend income. And I think that's a very popular number because it's a clean 10K a month. I mean, who wouldn't love 10,000 of dividend income being taxed at a preferential tax rate every single month, 120K a year? Oh, the equivalent of that, you can do some math by the taxes that you don't have to pay to see what the tax equivalent is of that for earning a wage or a salary. I mean, that's the beauty in dividend investing. So guys, that's the video there. Living off of dividend income is possible. You don't have to get there right away. If you want to do it in 15 years, you can invest $3,000 a month for 15 years, deploying over $500,000 of your hard-earned dollars over 15 years, and producing, you could produce a portfolio that yields well over $45,000 to $48,000 at a yield of about 3.5%. Third, I'm trying to get to financial freedom by dividend income. So I'm trying to be transparent with you on my journey. I'm adding a few $1,000s in forward income every single year. And most of that is by dividend reinvestment and dividend growth. So a lot of the income that is being increased every year or being generated is growing really by itself right now. So that's another beauty in dividend investing. And again, depending on your dividend yield appetite will dictate how much of an investment portfolio you have to have. Again, take your income that you want and divide that by the dividend yield that you're comfortable with. For me, I'm at 3.5%. So again, 48,000 divided by 3.5%. I need a little over $1.3 million of a market value portfolio to produce that result. So, do your math, see how much you need to get there. And then you could put it in an investment reverse calculator to see, okay, how much do I need to invest per month, per year, at a certain percent return in order to get there, because you'll be surprised. You don't even need half of, what that, market value or level is. Again, I gave the example to achieve my goal. You only really need to invest only $500,000+ over a 15-year period. But that beats having $1.4 million in your hand today, which is pretty rare to happen. Again, if you have that, give me a call too, because I'd like to, maybe borrow some of that. Maybe you can just lend it to me, maybe I can give you an IOU in return. Or hey, maybe I can give you a PSA Pokemon card, PSA 10 there. We can exchange, right? Fair, I think. But let me know in the comments what you think about living off of dividend income, what your goal is in investing, what your financial freedom number is, what your passive income goal is as well. Because it doesn't have to be just dividend income. You have rental, royalties, interest income. We talked about all the ways that you can turn, one-time income into forever income. So watch that video as well. And if you haven't, guys, subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to produce some good financial content for you to help you understand, from my experiences, what's possible, to provide, literature and education just so you can understand investing concepts, and 3, just to have some fun and share ideas within the community. Again, leave me some comments below on what other content you might want to see. And again, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Let's keep saving, keep investing, and let's get to financial freedom. This is Lanny.